Hey everybody, welcome back to the Flat Thunder channel. My name's Andy and this is one of the newest cars I've ever worked on, a 2018 Ford Explorer with a 3.5 liter V6. Customer's being told it needs rear brakes. It's a little questionable, a little sketchy because usually the front brakes need replaced first. But we're going to tear into it. We got all the parts to replace all the brakes in the rear end of this thing. Let's get after it. This car is kind of a fancier vintage than I'm used to. It has independent rear suspension, so I'm going to jack up on the swing arm here somewhere, probably right below the spring bucket there, and we'll support it and then put a jack stand under there somewhere. Okay, there we go. Looking at rear disc brakes. Rotor doesn't feel that bad. But the pads, they're being told, are thin. And I don't know if they're as thin as what they're telling them, but we'll be able to tell when we get it out of there. This inside one looks a little bit thinner than the outside, so it's probably not centering good. This still has a cable. Wow, I'm kind of surprised. This has a cable actuator, where I was anticipating an electronic one. Interesting. So we're going to have to get that cable off of there to get this caliper out of there. We're going to replace the rotors, the pads, but we're also going to replace the whole caliper assembly. The whole caliper assembly was only 50 bucks per side. End result for the customer, you get 100 bucks and you're going to get all brand new. Whereas if you just replace the pads and the rotors, you can probably get away with that. As soon as that caliper stops centering, which it looks like it already did, and or the piston ties up, you're going to smoke your pads and smoke your new rotor. So for $100 extra, get the whole thing. So it looks like one of those things where I'm going to pinch myself. Not really sure how to do this. This has to come off of that. This has to come off of this actuating arm, but it's all spring loaded, and maybe we can pull some slack out of this. I feel like it's going to pinch me though. Here's one of the new ones. I don't know which side this is. Time out for part number if you want it. Ray Bestos. So this is what we're prying on. This is the other side. Let's get the right side. Okay. So this is this side. Time out for part number if you want that one. About the same, except I think one digit changes. So we're prying on this, lifting this up, and it should come back down. I'm not really sure why that one's not coming back down. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but yeah, it's very strange. It should come back down. So I lift up on this. That's like actuating the parking brake. The cable's gone in, but why is the cable not loosening? Maybe the cable automatically sucks itself up. It's got to come off of there. I think that's auto retracts. And this thing's pissing me off. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm getting really pissed off. Clamp it so it can't come back down. Should be loose. My God, it's got some kind of auto tensioner in it. Ah, oh, man. It's got to have an auto tensioner in it that pulls that back up. Gee, yeah. I have to look on the internet to figure out how to fix that. The cable has an auto like slack adjuster in it, which I was not prepared for, so it kept sucking the cable in. I'd actuate the parking brake manually, then it would suck the cable back in when you released it. So yeah, that was interesting, a little tricky. Hopefully the other side goes smoother. Now we just gotta disconnect our hydraulic line and peel off 2 bolts, the rotor, and it's that easy. So I got this plastic bag. I'm gonna take the cap off and I'm gonna put this plastic over top of here. Try to keep all the brake fluid from leaking out. Not saying it's gone to, but it might help. Basically it keeps that like at a vacuum, or at least slows down the leak. Try to turn this guy, but I don't think that's a swivel, so we're probably gonna have to disconnect the brake line up there, take the whole hose out, and spin the whole hose as we're loosening it here. Be able to tell as soon as we start trying to turn this that the whole hose wants to twist. It's got to come off up there. Yeah. See that? So right here means this whole hose needs to be loosened up top and removed so we can spin the hose with the fitting. You designed that. Whose idea that was. This one and then up on top. So up from above, this is the bottom one. Got 2 of them. They're usually on there pretty good. That's just tight on the caliper. Released. There she goes. Nice. It's gonna be one of those air tool days. Happy that I got that big air compressor. Never before could I have this advantage point, but this flat anvils on a pneumatic chisel or air hammer, oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. No more rotor and no beating and prying on it and cursing involved. A little loud, of course, but yeah. Let's dust this up a little bit here, and of course never seize it, silver streak it if you will, and get our new rotor on there. Call me Silver Streak. Oh, that's way too much. Really, I'm just concerned about the hub pilot, not so much the flat surface, even though we cleaned it off. Look at these babies. We purchased fully coated rotors. Now we're ready to get the new caliper back on there, and we're going to be right on down the road. Here we go. Caliper came with a bracket, new slide pins, everything's ready to rock and roll. It even has the hardware clips installed for the brake pads themselves. Since we got the Silver Streak jazz out, we're just going to go ahead and lubricate those slides with the Silver Streak. Here's our new pads. Bestos brand. Pause for part number if you're interested. And the brake pads themselves also came with new hardware. Okay. Try not to smooth on there too much. Just a little bit. And really, if those weren't in there, I would put it on the steel surface, but it's a coated caliper, so hopefully that won't rust too much in between there, because the rust jacking gets in between the little slide pins and the caliper, causes binding. Here we go. Okay. So that pen has to sit in the recess on the caliper, and it's not lining up right now. So I'll have to see. We need to rotate this little V notch counterclockwise to get it to seat on the pin in the caliper. If not, we might have to go all the way around one revolution. This is a tool. It's got multiple sides and different shapes for different calipers. Okay, perfect. So the pin's centered in the groove and the pad is completely flat against the piston as it should be. Get this side back in. Let's see if we can hook this line up. Okay, that was an easy way to install it. Alright, I'm going to put Vibratite on these bolts, basically Loctite. There we go. Whoever thought this was a good idea? What's wrong with banjo fittings? After learning a little bit from the other side in this parking brake cable, I think what we're going to try to do on this side is get this out of here first. If this Harbor Freight jack doesn't go down, and yeah, try to pull it up over. I think that's the right way to do it. Oh, so close. Ah, we did it. Still kind of a pain in the butt. Really trouble if this was rusted to the line. Luckily this is a nice new car. Working on an older one's really going to be a pain. That was the tricky part, getting that parking brake cable off. That came off pretty easily this time, I mean in comparison to the other side, because we knew a little bit more about how it tries to suck it back up. It was really throwing me for a loop. Rest pretty straightforward and the same. I'll throw you a time lapse here. We'll rip this off of here and get the new one back on. Let's see how good our bag trick worked. We got kind of interrupted mid-process, so it took longer than what we wanted. Yeah, but it's still got a good amount in there. It didn't drain it all out. This calls for, man, look at that. The cowl goes here, and the cap is under there. Need a funnel for this. So this calls for .4 brake fluid. Just gonna top her off so we can start the bleeding process. As you know, if you follow along on the channel, bleeding brakes is one of my least favorite activities. I don't enjoy it at all. No, but I have found when installing new brake components, new brake hardware, what I do is I gravity bleed or attempt to gravity bleed the unit before putting the bleeder cup on and or manually bleeding it the traditional way. And what that means, I have both bleeder screws in the rear loose, and I'm going to slowly push the pedal until I hear fluid coming out of one side. Once I hear that, I'm going to close that one off. Then I'm going to continue to push the pedal until it comes out the other side, close that one off, and then we'll start the traditional bleeding method with our one-man bleeder. See it pouring out of the driver's side. I think it's already at the passenger side, but we're going to go one more. Now we'll close that side off and get our one-man bleeder hooked up. I don't see any residual bubbles in the line, and we bled the whole cup full, so good to go. So we got the car on the incline here outside the garage. We're going to put it in neutral, see if it wants to roll. Yep. We're going to give our parking brake a try. It's on. We're not moving. Let's release it. And it works. Alright, there's the parking brake. Now let's go burnish these brakes in here. We're going to make 3 moderate stops from about 35 miles an hour. We're not going to drag the brakes, we're just going to make a nice, moderate, easy pace stop. There's one. Got some traffic coming from behind us, so we might have to adjust how we do this. Here's 2. Need one more. This thing's got some pick-me-up. Alright, we got a little bit too fast there. So we're going to let her coast till we get down to about 35. I'm pretty impressed with that. So we're going to go, we're at 40 now, that'll work. Moderate pace stop down to 0. Then we need to do our one medium to heavy stop from 45. That's got some good pick-me-up. Alright, here we go. Here's our heavy to moderate, or medium. Here we go. Here's our medium to heavy stop. Hold on to your biscuits. And turned you way down. We did it. Everything's good. Now let's just go back to the house. Make sure nothing's smoking. Most important thing to denote here when doing this process, you do not want to drag the brakes or slowly apply the brakes. That will not help. That will just heat your brakes up and actually probably hurt them more than it will help them. New coated brake rotors, brake pads, and a coated brake caliper. This Ford Explorer is ready to rock and roll. It's got all new components on it, and they're coated and they look great, almost like it was brand new again. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Leave your questions and comments in that section below, and don't forget to punch that subscribe button your way out. Thanks for watching, everyone.